Long ago, near the shining city of Paris, a young woman named Ella lived in a large countryside estate that had once been filled with warmth and laughter. After her father passed away, her stepmother slowly turned her into a servant in her own home. But Ella remained gentle and kind, holding on to her father's last words: "Stay strong." One winter morning, royal messengers arrived carrying exciting news. A grand ball would be held at the palace, and every noble family was invited. The stepsisters laughed excitedly, imagining dancing with the prince, while Ella listened quietly near the fireplace. Gathering all her courage, Ella asked her stepmother if she might attend the royal ball as well. After a long pause, her stepmother agreed, but only if every single task in the house was completed before the night of the ball. Hope filled Ella's heart, and from that day forward she worked harder than ever, spending long nights sewing beautiful dresses for her stepsisters by candlelight. Again and again the sisters returned with complaints, but Ella quietly fixed everything they demanded without a single word of protest. When the sewing was finished, she cleaned the hallways, then the kitchens, then the fireplaces, sometimes working until sunrise. She never complained, because for the first time in years, she carried hope inside her heart. Late one evening, Ella crept into her small room beneath the staircase where a simple dress she had secretly made for herself rested beside the bed. Every stitch had been sewn with care, and she smiled softly knowing that at last she would attend the royal ball. On the night of the ball, the stepsisters prepared excitedly in their shimmering gowns, and Ella stepped quietly into the hallway wearing her own handmade dress. Though it was simple, she looked graceful, and for a brief moment, even the stepsisters stared in surprise. Then one stepsister laughed, and before Ella could step back, the sisters rushed forward and tore her dress apart in their hands. Her stepmother turned away coldly, saying Ella would not be attending the ball, and the carriage disappeared into the night. Ella stood alone in the empty hallway as tears rolled down her face, whispering that she had finished everything and they had promised. But then she remembered her father's voice telling her to stay strong, and she closed her eyes, took a breath, and stood once more. In her small room, Ella opened an old wooden chest she had protected since childhood, and inside rested her mother's pale rose gown shimmering softly in the candlelight. She placed it over her shoulders and looked in the mirror, but only her old work shoes waited beside the door, and she whispered sadly that perhaps some dreams were not meant to happen. Then suddenly, a soft wind moved through the garden. Silver light drifted through the darkness like falling stars, and a graceful figure appeared among the glowing air. The fairy woman smiled gently and said, "My dear child, your kindness has not gone unseen." The mysterious friend touched the tired old horse near the garden gate, and at once light spread across his body, restoring his strength. Then she touched Ella's worn shoes, and silver light transformed them into shining glass slippers before whispering, "Go now. Your story is waiting." The horse carried Ella swiftly through the moonlit roads toward the glowing royal palace, and when she entered the grand ballroom, every conversation stopped at once. The chandeliers reflected softly across her mother's rose-colored gown, and at the far end of the room, the prince looked up and instantly recognized her eyes. The prince crossed the ballroom and asked for a dance, and together they stepped into the center of the hall beneath the glowing lights. As they danced, the prince said she seemed familiar, and slowly him remembered. She was the frightened girl that had once protected him near an orchard road long ago. From above, the king watched carefully, and suddenly his expression changed as he recognized the gown that had once belonged to Lady Elise. When Ella confirmed she was Elise's daughter, the king drew in a quiet breath of astonishment. At that moment, the stepmother pushed through the crowd, insisting Ella was only a servant from her household. The stepsisters grabbed at Ella's gown, tearing the outer layers away before the watching crowd to reveal her simple servant clothes beneath, and the entire ballroom fell into stunned silence. Her face burning with humiliation, Ella turned and ran from the ballroom into the night. As she climbed onto the horse outside, one glass slipper slipped from her foot and fell onto the palace steps, and she vanished before anyone could stop her. Moments later, the prince reached the courtyard, picked up the shining glass slipper, and made a promise to find her. He searched from house to house across the kingdom, but no young woman could wear the slipper, until at last he arrived at Ella's countryside estate. Neither stepsister could wear the slipper, and the stepmother claimed Ella was gone, but the prince found her standing quietly beside the orchard fountain among the winter trees. He knelt before her, placed the glass slipper gently onto her foot, and it fit perfectly. Ella returned to the palace. Her family estate was restored, and she chose kindness over revenge, helping even her stepmother and stepsisters begin new lives. The bells of Paris rang as Ella married the prince, and she became a beloved queen, because her story had never been about a glass slipper, but about courage, kindness, and the promise to stay strong.